part of the lying nature. I've made it to my refuge here. Part of the lying of police and other types of officers beyond those which wear a uniform and make themselves a little more obvious into the type of profession and magic, black magic they're about, is that they generally, because they have such weak and lazy minds, and even up to the most highly trained soldiers, they're always going to protect the people who are most in pain, and they're going to, which usually are criminals just like them, and they're going to protect their pain, right? And by the time it comes around to someone who is better reasonably acquainted with their pain and more sensible of a continued responsibility comprehended by everyone's pain to maintain a certain integrity of human communication and to basically keep the peace, those people are the most likely to be dealt the most heavy hand by the police. The people most inclined to keep it. Because in fact, what people in codependent communist systems do is basically keep the law of pain. They protect the pain. Right? Wherever the pain most is and closest to theirs, they protect it. So you may be confused about how police treat you and stuff, is that they're protecting the pain. And it's all under the guise of a job and laws and this, but ultimately beneath all the Catholic laws and all the laws is protecting the pain distribution system. Police are like drug dealers. That's why the police units are often involved in drugs and the like, because they're purveyors of pain and the answers to pain. They're protecting the pain. Heroin protects the pain as much as it protects you from the pain. It induces a really good psychosis. Right? It helps your brain do. Right? Heroin is never so great, but that it does for your brain what your brain wants to do. It's like a medicine, helping your brain does what it needs to do. And so, although we may wish to think ill of the police and the like, and many other types of professional psychopaths, they're doing what our brain, in a sense, is telling them to do. They're protecting pain, and they're protecting the distribution of pain, because that's the only way to protect pain. And to protect pain is to protect yourself. To protect the law is to stretch the law, and is to protect yourself and increase your power. And the power of pain over human beings. So essentially, warriors like the police have already been overcome. They've already been conquered by pain. And like the Christian convert, it's turned them into, in a sense, a bigger person. They want to help you conquer your pain by protecting the greatest pain from the truth, from everything. It's interesting, eh? I gotta have some food. And it's like, if you're there in the thick of it and you see how pain is protected, and what that has to do with protecting the law or protecting the people that need help from help, the people that need the police need help. Why is a policeman's job so dangerous? Because they've placed themselves in a dangerous position just by being a police officer. Why? Is it because we're so unruly? No. It's because they're liars and they have no peace. How could they keep something they do not have? People who carry weapons and who lie, which is a weapon in itself, only bring war wherever they go. A pain to protect us from pain. In society, at best, it is always this pain to resolve a greater pain. It is this pain to protect us from this greater pain. We take these measures to protect us from an even worse world than these measures are bound to conceive of.
which in itself will tend to reinforce what those people's brains most want to do. Must be as protected from pain as possible, protecting pain from discovery, and protecting their mind and yours from pain. And there's the lying is basically protecting pain. People don't want to say the pain, or they want to believe in the religion, they'll say anything. Why do religious people just believe anything? Because it advances their brain's desire to get rid of pain. And the brain helps it do that. It becomes the vagina to the world's penis. It wants to accommodate a penis that can make its pain go away as pleasurably as possible, and to protect pain from everything and everything from our pain. That's why it's good sometimes to be in pain. If we're in pain, in some sense, we fail to protect ourselves from pain. Well, with predators, female predators around me, they try to protect themselves from pain. Then all of a sudden, they're creating a pain for someone like myself. Now they've faced a boundary where they can't protect themselves from their pain. In foiling evil, I've also foiled a pain protection system, a kind of protection racket taken up by people who help modify, administer, protect, and advance the protection of pain, which is like police officers. Law enforcement is a study in cult psychology. Right? Anyway, so I think that's some interesting ideas. And I wanted to say another spell for this young lady while I'm here today. I'm still I had to encounter police and such over the last year, just through other people's misbehavior. And I'm still washing it out of my system. Anytime I see society, I have to analyze it. I figure I owe the world something. Like, people need to know, like, this will help police officers, because there's a lot of people out there who don't understand what you do and why you do it. And they don't understand how, despite your best efforts, you don't seem to know what you're doing. And you don't need to know what you're doing or how you're doing. In all your training in a lot of jobs, the most of your effect is what you don't need to do and what you don't train to do. Soldiers don't train to hurt people, in a sense. They don't train to foil healthy lands and to lie to people and hurt people. They train to protect people and to uphold great principles. So they're doing stuff they're not trained to do because as children they were forced to confess to things they did not do. Which is an interpolated judgment the nervous system makes based on being treated as though they must have done something wrong. I'm enjoying being in bare feet, actually. Oh. this is also why, if you're interested, you can read things about people's minds that they probably don't expect. You can tell. You don't have to be psychic. You especially notice it when they have an agenda. Your blood just picks it up. To have senses is to be psychic. All the senses are psychic senses, is what I was trying to tell people. All your senses are psychic senses. The world is just confounded normal thinking. Your eyes see, your ears hear the waters of existence. So, got some thoughts on that. Goes right back to childhood. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's interesting. I mean, again, like, if you come back around with all of my sort of anti-police leading of mine, you might say anti-police, anti-police. It actually helps the police. Like, if you get into the unconscious, what people are trained to do without being trained to do, what people are trained to think without thinking, right? It gives you a shadow area that's where it's fertile territory. If you're looking for places to go to find reasons, ways, capacity, anger, resentment, bitterness, or enlightenment to improve wherever you're at in terms of your safety. And that includes police officers. If you can have reason to suspect that people are going to pick this up off of you, if it may do you some advantage to provoke people in such a way, but also understand that does it ever do you a disadvantage, and how can you modify that? Just interesting. I mean, it's like, I don't want to break someone's balls for being a police officer. You know? It's like, fuck, I don't want to do that. But I mean, you don't want to do what I'm doing, and you know, no police officer has actually broke my balls in a long time. So necessarily, it's just that I really don't like being around them. But for the most part, they seem to leave me alone. You know, I don't give them a reason, you know, to. But you can see how they're kind of poised. I guess they have to be in their profession. They're poised to pounce. They're poised to take certain advantages when the opportunity arises. All of which is comprehended as part of the kind of unspoken criminal code of ethics, which is we can be kind of a little bit criminal whenever we need to. And there's ways of prosecuting people who have done nothing more than just object to a kind of saturation or litany of subterfuge that has never been meant to make you feel comfortable when dealing with the police. A kind of universal provocation so that, you know, they can shake you down, basically. And, you know, if you don't behave the way you're supposed to behave around the police, it's like there are dire consequences just for your lack of behavior, your lack of sufficient training in how to deal with them. Like, citizens should get trained. When you're young, a police officer comes to your school and gives a speech, right? You think, oh, Mr. Police Officer. But you need to get trained to deal with police officers. As much as police officers are trained to deal with you. Anyone who comes to you with a robe or letters after their name or a flag or uniform, right, is never telling the truth. They can't, right? It's just like a law of gravity. You can't jump off a building and not fall. It's not like they're bad, it's just the nature of the beast is they can't tell the truth, right? It's like that with all military organizations, right? And it's like no one has to break any bones here. We just have to raise our level of alertness. Like, we all get it on some level. Everybody knows this. They just don't say it out loud. And as much as police officers are trained to deal with you, You need to be trained to deal with police officers as much as teachers are trained to deal with you. When you're a child, people should teach children to deal with their teachers. No one ever sets up the boundaries for dealing with teachers, right? Teachers need help. As much they might say, oh, students need to be taught. Teachers need to be taught. They're extremely unschooled in the world, right? The communist world produces people of whatever credit or notability that all need huge amounts of therapy and education in many, many respects. So it's about 3 o'clock now. I guess I could have. But good spot. But yeah, that young lady just dealt coldly by these rich condominium owners. It's not a pleasant part of my race. I wish her well. She deserves better. Police don't do anything. They don't help anybody. They'll ride for the cure. They'll ride for cancer, but they won't give a young, vulnerable girl in this 21st century of feminism. They won't give her a helping hand to having a safe place to sleep tonight. They don't have anything available to them. It's not their fault. Oh, it's your fault, citizen. It's the parishioner, the lowly parishioner, upon whom all responsibilities fall. When the great and mighty Oz isn't able to make good on any of your completely erroneous expectations about what the Oz-like priests are supposed to do for you. Many of whom would object to anything I say when I said police don't help anyone, but are happy to blame you when they invariably fail to help you. Right? That's a religion. That's a religious cult. Right? And you might say, well, that's not fair to them. Well, then try to understand religious cults. Bring your patience, bring your compassion, bring your generosity for the policeman, bring your delusions about what a policeman is. Right? And by the way, that will help them grow. Let's help our police officers return to sanity. Because they're one of the worst plagues upon this earth in their capacity as police. You know, in your capacity, you do this and this. You get to represent the spirit of man's authority. But when you're lying all the time to people, right, you're dishonoring that spirit. Because I have the spirit of my authority, which has in some sense been invested in you, and I don't have to lie. Because I'm where your authority comes from. By the time it gets to you, though, you're just a lying piece of shit. Why is that? It's not your fault. That's not what I made my authority to do. That's not what man made his authority to do. Being a police officer, and such as anything decent at all, is a privilege and an honor, not just a danger, not just as something gets plausible deniability every time you fuck someone over. You become a hoover for poverty and vulnerable men and women. There's so many levels of the communist bureaucracy that just sends people on the street, particularly in this part of the world for some reason. Not in all. So I wish her well, where all these other white people failed you. That you came to the right building, and you found the right man, for power shall be added unto you. You who are so honest as to lay down your aching head upon the cement floor outside the penthouse where these moral, retired coconuts live, who couldn't make a pair of coconuts if they had all of Paradise Island at their disposal. And that's how I feel about that. Absolutely. Throw my hat in with her. This is a beautiful pentagram. Pentagrams protect me. They do all kinds of things, but for the first time, I would like to send a truly positive spell out to this lady. I know it will reach her. Protected in every way, as well as I would wish to protect anyone of my own family. Commended to all of your resources of protection within yourself and around you. All the medicines of this earth be at thy side, all thy wishes be heard by the Great Mother and the Great Father himself. Peace to you and your family. Protection, first and foremost, from your family as necessary. And then peace. Peace in the walk that you have been forced and called to take up on this earth. You who are so brave and so young, friends. You who bear challenges that many of these big people have long forgotten to even think about. They who pay so much lip service to love and caring about young, vulnerable people, when it comes right down to it, don't give a fuck. Because their values don't connect to their hearts. It just connects to their wallets and the great opiate of just making sounds around other people that no one thinks is too inappropriate. When the heart grows weak, the mind grows weak, you just become a liar. And what good are you when just one of your fellow man needs a hand? I think you got some blood that way. Just goes to show you, if I had this hat on, I wouldn't have gotten poked. Everything is beautiful in its own way. Yeah, there are people thinking about me, focusing on me. Their energy, in some sense, would bring me closer to them, or they to me. And sometimes you'll see that. People that I see now and then, they don't want to see me, but their hatred brings me to within proximity of me. They'll have to moil away, think about things. And the thing is, they have so much more to think about than me, but they don't. Because, their life is like that. I've disturbed their ability to protect pain by serving it to other people. Ugh. I think I'm just going to pack up and go. Because I've had some food. I gotta put my shoes on. There's too many bugs around. It's a very tenacious mosquito. Ugh. Yeah, so people are thinking about me, and I've met some evil people, and again, they always protect the pain, but somehow I find a way to get through, and in some sense, it is better off. Sometimes, not always, that people have something to think about. Maybe people have something to think about. Because I always think when I'm dealing with like a young person, I meet some violent young people. You deal with them, or you deal with their parents, or you deal with the police, or whatever it is, and it's like all these people are basically the same kind of people, right? The young man who's on meth and lost his mind, he really speaks the same language as the police, protecting him, from any kind of compassionate but proportional guidance, discipline, and therapy. And so the family and everything, they just are able to keep a lot of things quiet because of the police. My family was able to do that. Like, they just know. They know what kind of people to basically just let them be, and what kind of people to have their children removed. They know what kind of families they can go to work on, and what kind of families get their special protection. based on the pain they protect, and the pain, when you're protecting pain, you need to distribute to others. And that's the sort of the double loyalty of a pain created mind. The pain you protect, and then the pain you project. And no one ever teaches you how to deal with those people, which is a lot of people. You may think, oh, there are these kinds of people, but there are just a hell of a lot of people that are that way. It's like just being people apparently became a contact sport. I want to hang out for a bit. It's just that these bugs really are quite prolific. And I think it's hot out. Ooh. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to take my jacket off. Yeah, no. Too much stuff. Yeah, before I walk out of here though, I will. Yeah, I can feel that there are people who wish me ill. It hasn't been a while, but they don't really have a lot else to do. So, and it's they're people who just are keeping a lid on a lot of pain, and when it comes out, it really comes out, but they can't really take responsibility for something that kind of they don't want to be theirs to begin with. It's as much as it can be something outside themselves, they can still protect themselves from it. Right? Even though it's become a part of their personality, things like that, they're projecting it a lot. It's really hard to get into. I mean, it's awful. When human beings hurt children, it just creates utter chaos in the world. It creates so much lack of peace. And I'm an honest person. I'm a peaceful one, I would say. And so I can get a lot of peace from life, but I wonder sometimes how much peace other people will find, because they have no mind for it, really. So I just want to really focus on this. I need protection. I ask for protection from Mother Nature and the power of Satan, Odin, and Attila, and everything powerful in my own flesh and blood. Protected from all continuing mercenary, invidious hatred, pain, repugnance, and evil. I ask that all destruction thereof be collected as can be, redistributed as can be, and then I shall make full use of every opportunity as such to focus my energies on increasing the strength of my home and of my people, and the peace of my people. I would like to take this moment with all the power that has been aroused from both these places, both these pentagrams, using them combined for the first time, to utterly share with no restraint every kind of safety and intelligence I have just invoked for my own flesh and blood. The young woman that was attempting to station herself near the top of my building when she was treated to another of the great cold hand of her so-called fellow man, of the elders of this building, who really will stop at nothing to tell, when they do tell the truth, one that is actually quite horrifying about what's truly happened to the human mind. So mote it be. So mote it be. So mote it be. So mote it be. That is the sound of a pentagram being sounded. So motive B. And that's that. And I will leave the earth to take care, as she always does, and shows me how to deal with destructive energy. Okay? And I look forward to learning. As long as it's real you. Great. I even drew a little blood there when I was pulling up my pants. That's good. Put this blood here in this place. And I rub some mud on it. There. Perfect. I'll take a stick. This is a good stick of mine. Kind of weakened it by doing that, so I'm just gonna leave it here now. Nice. And it's kind of like a wand, using it like a wand, so once I've made something, like a spell like that, you just leave it. Let's go. Perfect. I feel like nature will often tell me that my spell has been heard, received, and all that power goes to that woman. It's the third spell I've done for her in the last 24 hours. I don't have to see the results to know that they will be certain. And over time, I will be very glad to see what goes on in my building, because I think there's going to be a lot of changes. Because that enforces all the other spells I've made about various people in and around my life. Just keeping that protective, and it works. Like, you don't think so, and then something comes along, and you see it's worth it to build up your psychic immunity without having to be an actor, take on an actor, put on an actor, pretend to be something you're not. Heard people here earlier, but I don't see anything now. Let's go. I already had some water, so I'm just gonna keep walking. Get home a bit earlier today. The day is young. So that was good. That was powerful. Ooh, wow. Haven't seen anyone. There's certain energies when I walk somewhere that I know I might see, but I've had a lot of luck. I make it so the people that I don't want to see, over time it just seems to develop that they don't want to see me. So it works really well that way. When you have to see people and you don't want to. People have mental problems. Serious ones. Like, I meet people who should be under psychiatric care. Tired people usually. And they need therapy. They need somebody to release the tension, and they need to go get a homosexual prostitute or something. You know, it's what that psychopath down the hall does. She gets prostitutes. Usually very young men. Come and fuck her 300-pound gelatinous body. Well, she's full of copious amounts of wine, sugar, and psychotic delusion that has seen both of her sons become brain damaged, one of whom she's actually living off of. If you believe that. Right now she's living off of a brain damaged man that she bore from her own womb. This, you know, who wants to hurt such people? Who wants to add misery to their life? It's like, I just like to tell their tale what I can and let them find their way. And I really love it
it makes, just like all encounters with white people, where they stay a minute or a year, is when they leave, it's like peace on earth. Like there's some kind of creation out of just the sheer patience that you can exert being anything close to white civilization. That when it leaves or flees or moves out of your building or your home, an incredible peace fills its place. It leaves room for peace to live and breathe. And you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know life could be this way. And all you have to do is get white people out of your life, or change direction, or stay away from elements. They really are not being able to breed enough. Like, nature has spoken. About trouble breeding, and you don't want these people to breed. They work, they've got values around working, growing up, and forging new kinds of steel, and fighting new kinds of wars, talking up new kinds of points, new kinds of sports, but they've lost the ability to be human, and thankfully to reproduce, but not before actually raising a lot of fairly psychotic, mentally retarded, but very obedient Canadians and Americans, Australians and British people, and so on. Yeah. One day I'd like to live in a world with no white people, or at least a part of the world. This part of the world, it's never going to be free of white people. It's pretty much overrun with them. They had to. They colonized it, right? Right? They're like the elite secondary force after the fucking white people who don't mind cutting people's arms and legs off with swords, and that's just the children, wrapping them around trees with barbed wire, right? Letting them bleed to death, scream and cry themselves to death and to sleep. That's what these white people's ancestors did to children because of the color of their skin, and they can't get it out of their system. The guilt, the hatred, the rage, the murder that all these families have done, these RCMP families, these traditions, these fraternities, RCMP, man, they may not die on the road, but they die inside in the course of their lives. Heavy drinkers, heavy drug users, get involved with a lot of crime, biker gangs, things like that. It's all the whole legal world the whole criminal world overlaps. Right? It's pretty much the same code, right? And then you're in between, right? The average communist dupe. But they're in between too. They have no idea what they're involved in, ever. Most people don't. And it's almost better that they don't. I couldn't do it. I can't do it. I don't think anyone can. I think they just think they can. Because they get sick. And the sickness is such that it protects them from so much pain. They're so good at advantaging anything that protects people from pain, which will leave people eventually as scapegoats, which drops down kind of an invisible pyramid. Who's the lowest on the totem pole? Well, it's the one who actually is the best at dealing with pain, because they're going to be given the greatest load, essentially. Potentially, they can carry the most potential for righteous prosecution, is the people who are most sensible of the pain that's driving everyone involved. The most sympathetic people, if you will, the most Christ-like people, they're the ones that are prosecuted the most. They're the most freshest meat to be cannibalized in the pain-oriented, pain protection rackets of the global communist world. So men here, one day it's men, another day it's woman, one day it's your dad, the other day it's your mother, one day it's your brother, the next day it's you. And it's everybody. You all get your turn. Right? As you move up and down the pain pyramid. And the top of the pyramid is God. And your greatest beliefs all of a sudden become digestive fluid to someone like me. Right? We're supposed to feel sorry for Holocaust that never happened. Well, no one gets to talk about the Holocaust that did. Are you kidding me? That's not a joke. Yeah. It is the world. And whether we like it or not, it's telling the truth. Truths that will last for thousands of years. Truth isn't the problem. The problem is that nobody reads. Nice trail. Yeah, motivated, tired. I think coming home early was a good choice. Get a bath. Didn't get too cold today, so the moderate heat. Get home a bit early. I think I'll be able to recover admirably. I don't think I slept as well as I should have, so. My mum seems to be doing quite well, to be honest with you. She does. She's doing good. It's nice out. I gotta take a breath. As usual, I've been talking for 6 hours or so. 4 or 5 hours or whatever. I don't have much left in me. I've got food and marijuana and drink, though. That's good. I could peel off here if I want, but there's just too many mosquitoes flying around. It's uncomfortable. Actually, the best place would be in the field out here. If I get out there, there's probably less mosquitoes. Let me see. Sun, a little more wind. Let's see how it goes. Really haven't seen too many people. It's been good. I'm thankful. I mean, I've had enough evil in my day. Like I said, there's been people whose minds are projecting my direction. And all they had to do is get a little bit of access to me, just by shopping and stuff. So I really have to be careful to be friendly, but also to have my boundaries up anywhere I go, because a lot of people end up prosecuting me because I fall to the bottom of the pain pyramid and I challenge their God. Right? So you challenge people's God, you fall to the bottom of the pain pyramid, and as an incredible challenge to their God, they have to eat you. Right? The part of their brain that can't handle the true nature of their pain is the part that needs to cannibalize you the most. It's just an unsavory thing about humans. That's the Cain and Abel of it all. Of presenting the world whose genesis, it always seems to involve some disturbed deformation of human sexual, mental, and moral anatomy, obviously, and that's a communist world. Fascist, democratic, it's all the same thing. Right? They don't come out and name the world accurately what it is for you. You do kind of have to figure it out for yourself. The world, religion is the world, and it's called communism. What's the world religion? You want to know what it is? Look at the religion of the world. You don't need me. Look at the world religion. You're like, what world religion? Oh, I see. You've got a little ways to go then. You haven't gotten out enough religions to find the world religion behind all religions, right? The pathogenic behavior that man has been sent into a trance from life to life, generation to generation. Not even thinking as man thinks about all kinds of complex things, about the types of things that we can learn, not just in one lifetime, from generation to generation, and not just having to plant certain seeds, but how to manage pain in certain ways. Humans are amazing, and they're a lot more than that, but generally they've distinguished themselves in every respect as pain management systems and franchise distribution systems. Franchisees, actors, portraits of the thing that owns them, fighters for the thing that most wishes to devour them, animated by the scripts and prayers of the God of all their pain come true, and all their dreams come true in one fell swoop of self-mortification and pathogenic obedience. It's not a pleasant thing, but it's done slowly over time, incrementally through the education process. Right? How many people no longer really walk across this earth with the kind of mind they had when they were 6? And secondly, just go, oh, well, of course you don't have the mind when you were 6. Oh, I'm a big person now. I pay bills and I know how to get fucked. It's like, well, that's a strange admission, really, because it's like saying you don't really have a mind at all. But you just said the mind when I was 6. It's not just a temporal distinction, right? It's a functional distinction. Every kind of level of your mind as a child is a level of your mind entire. It's a kingdom unto itself. You pass through that kingdom. And as you do, that kingdom passes through you. And something's interrupting this natural communion. Disturbs families, communication. It makes solidarities forged with essentially divided loyalties. And the brain has to do all kinds of gymnastics to make that happen. To serve many masters is a difficult fate indeed. It's hard to know who to serve, right? Yourself, others, society, your God, your religion, your mother, yourself. Does it matter if you're psychotic, what you pick to serve? Because essentially you don't really have as much control as you think. You like to drive the Zamboni of enlightenment over the many grooves in the ice of existential agony. Just melt the surface layers and smooth it over like varnishing your wood floors. You smooth over the world in your mind. You become an open, childlike genius to a constant smoother of the rough edges of civilization, that you and others may pass more smoothly through the halls that adjudicate for your sexual and mental function. That they will all be improved by sacrificing yourself and your children. Stick yourself. You love your child, you talk about fine things, and then you say, you're going to stick yourself into that hole right there. It's a human-sized hole, it's got your name on it. Go, run, son. Run, daughter, stick your fucking whole life into there. There you go. And you get sucked in, and they come back and they write letters and they say, oh, Father, that really did suck me in. You were right. I love you so much for letting me get sucked into that hole called civilization. That which I can never fill, except that I dedicate all my labors to the God of pain. I love you, Father. I can rationalize anything. You have given me the power to do so. With a great stroke of unwieldy torture, which passed over our house like the shadow of death. The blood of the sacrifice, though, has become found upon our door jamb. My own blood now runs with that of the society, and I forgive myself for that which has given itself for me in the form of the torture of all the children thereof. I am a perfect maniac. I am a righteous overachiever. I am just a follower of the way. I must anoint the world with its innumerous Passover ceremonies, masks, and improvisations of human dignity. I should afford that world every natural and unnatural defense, while I shall bequeath to my children none, that they first were something that should be reduced to nothing, in order that they may be helped use all their lives to become something again, without ever thinking about how that something first became nothing, how they were born without a voice, that most parents don't think their children even speak their native tongue. That tells you that there's a vast fracturization of the mind. The children are born speaking their native tongue. The fact that you don't know that shows that you've lost a good chunk of your mind. There are still some places in the world where they talk to their children before they're born. Very rare. Very rare to see that now. So basically, you and child become bonded in a mental retardation. You reduce them to your level, chide them chemically or religiously for their discomfort in the process, and then condemn and commend them to making up the difference with the rest of their life sentence. To prove themselves to people who would reduce them to their level in order to produce a better citizen. Child. Boy, it's hot. My skin has been chided by many a thorn. My pants are rolled up, but I'm still too warm. Oh my goodness. I gotta take off my shirt. So, good turn. Ecco alcoani, chicken fino anani, chicken fino. Your tattoo and my tattoo may look like they're on fire. But that's because we got our tattoos when our stuff was all on fire. Pain, pain. We were filled with desire. But something in the realm of gonorrhea has given us a fire. I have a frigidly cautious view of sex because since all of my so-called sexual experiences from sexually violent homosexuals and lesbians, I don't really have a very probably normal view of sex. Not something I can really say I've ever had. Like I said, like sexually violent people are homosexual. It's not about sex, right? And for homosexuals, sex is not about sex, right? It's nothing to do with sex, actually. Like homosexual problems have nothing to do with sex. That's the problem. It's not enough to do with sex. We should put the sex back in homosexuality. We wouldn't be homosexual anymore. It's all a play on words. But something about this world doesn't want people to develop morally or sexually. Like I said, I can understand white people become homosexual because they should. But I just don't. At some point, I guess the tide will change and we'll be like, ooh, are you homosexual? Have you considered having sex with women? Now, in the new Maury Povich, why more people are curing cancer by having sexual reproduction. Get people interested again. They're moral, they're ready for it. They've had many centuries to rehabilitate themselves, but it's like, they're like me, they're like sniffing around like people in 2001 Space Odyssey. The cavemen, the monolith of true sexual union. It's like, what is this? What is this? Oh, we stick our penises in there? You mean we're morally ready for that? I don't think so. It's very, you're saying children come out after that? Ooh, how do we take care of them? It's a big world out there. And that's how you should approach it. It's like, you do this, you put this in, and then this comes out. A big deal. It's like, it's more than a puppy. A little bit less than a seagull. But seagulls are amazing. God, it's hot. This is the first time this year I've had to take off my shirt in the Pulico. I hope it is okay. Oh, God, it's hot. Now I could be in shorts right now. I'm glad I came home early. Your grandma and my grandma were sitting by the fire. Your grandma and my grandma were burning with desire. Yeah, I mean, the people who have raped me and assaulted me were not people who had sex function at all, you know. Even like the one woman who could reproduce, you know, who just has baby after baby with young men she rapes. With me, she was actually moving up to someone closer to her age, right? Because the first baby was to an underage boy. Not that anyone was making too big of a stink of it, and she didn't mind admitting it, right? And that's just normal to them, right? Just like a pedophile, that's just where they tend. They don't make those distinctions. It's important to understand that. Like a lot of women who really don't make distinctions between a boy of 10 or 12 or 19 or 39. And the more innocent or youthful your mind, the better. You know, I mean, I get a lot of female attention, not because I'm good looking, as you can see, but because I have a youthful energy. Right? My dad's kind of a predator. He used to say to me, I feel like I always have a lot of energy when I'm around you. I can see women's eyes light up. You know, it's like, ooh, tasty treat. Not because of the way I look, just my energy. Lots of cougars around here. It's so interesting seeing this video of these Christian farmers, these dairy farmers, and the dad and the son are standing there. And the son was married when he was 20, works full-time, 6 to 7 days a week on the farm. Really crazy shit. Has a daughter, 24 now, and he's 24, not the daughter. And they both have these suntans, you know, up to their t-shirts, because they never take their shirts off. You know, all their life they work outside, they never take their shirts off. It's amazing. I'm sure the young guy probably does sometimes, but it's really weird. They live in the elements, but their skin never touches them. Their back, their chest, right? Made it down here. Okay. I'm sweaty. Well, I actually made it home quite safely. I feel kind of vulnerable today. Hear the pigeons cooing. I'm gonna get myself the first inklings of a tan, it looks like. Oh my goodness. I've got my water with me because I plan on drinking something. That's a seagull. Nice. I would say this is a nice neighborhood, but unfortunately, unfortunately, I've had some negative people around here. This is the lacrosse arena. I don't agree with teaching children lacrosse. I had friends as a young child who did lacrosse. They all became more aggressive. Nobody notices this, but they become more antisocial, more aggressive. And if they start with family dysfunction, they become more aggressive, they become more psychotic. Basically, the lacrosse training, the sports training, the violent sports training, basically tells their young minds, there's nothing to do here but become stronger, more team-oriented, and more satisfied by the only kind of sense of identity you'll ever need, right? Performance-oriented identity, right? But what about when you're a child? You don't have performance-oriented sense of identity. So it's a form of sexual abuse of young boys and girls. Of course, girls are taught to catch up to the boys and be active and do what all the boys do. The fact is, feminine, modest women don't do that, right? And their bodies change. Their bodies change. They may become more athletic in some respects, but it's a lot of superfluous training, superfluous development, you know. It often commends them to doing mindless labor every day. Well, they use their recreation to work out at the gym for 12 hours, right? And drink protein shakes. My brother, by the time he was 20, was doing a breast of chicken, 2 protein shakes. You know, he had a really total regime, you know, working, making money, investing money, but also putting himself through school, right? But very performance-oriented identity, right? And his friends and stuff really helped because they all came from highly performance-oriented families. They worked on cruise ships, sexually promiscuous, and the like. Fuck, all these people that are right, it's sunny out. And so, I don't know, aggressive. So, Weird people around. Some guy with a pit bull. I don't know why people bring pit bulls. There's another people with German Shepherd. Why do you bring them to the park? Why? I do not agree with that. I would agree with bylaws. You can't bring German Shepherds or pit bulls to public places, as much as you can't drink publicly. It makes humans dangerous. And it's not even that the dogs are as dangerous as the people. And there are dogs that will pick up on people, and then people pick up on people, and it's the people causing all the problems. Essentially, I'm gonna walk through here. And, it's the people. It's always the people. Children, you can see, because the children express where the parents just stay home and drink, how wound up everything is. It speaks loud and clear as a human being, as a human sensor. You can feel that. A lot of people you look around, you see they've seen a lot of stress. A lot of stress. Nice. Spider. Right. Looks like some people getting a little too much sun. And wow, there's a lot of people out here. Got some sun. I wonder how many of these families have domestic abuse. Breeze. There's a guy on the boardwalk that's just like my brother when he's 16. Backwards hat, bright white t-shirt. My brother, like a lot of the more homosexual leading members of my family, are all about, dress and looking good. It's the complete thing, the package, right? The worker, the money, the fashion, the sex, the cars, the houses, the stress, right? All nicely packaged into the comprehensive vision of man's quotidian but mythologically heroic existence, to be glimpsed here and there in the heroic lengths to which the state will go to protect you from yourself and all comers. It's an incredible global fiction, pathological denouement of holographic proportions. tides out. Let's see, tide's coming in. Keep a good sweat here. That's good. I like that. Nothing you can do about it. Okay, yeah, this one. Ran through all the people. I didn't even think they had too much energy. It was good. Good job. Those protective spells I did today, I think will be amazing. I think they're going to resonate deeply through all levels of my life. Boom, 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 boom. 5 smacks of the Pentagon. Boom, 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 boom. Some more coming in. Oh, I've managed to evade. Oh, you won't believe this. I have the moose medicine today, and I just passed a baseball cap with, it looks like a stag. Not really a moose, but still big. Kind of moose-like antlers. It's kind of cool. I gave the old lady something to look at. It's always good. Should you can decide if can you see me? See if I look okay. Do I look okay? I think I look okay. Yeah. People, the phrase that you get is you look okay for your age. Cellulite and sheer resilience compete for the eye's attention as it grazes upon my semi-flatulent form. Oh.